Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastermind Body and Spirit Show. Today's guest is an award-winning filmmaker, fitness enthusiast, and international couch surfer who creates projects focused on cultural and social issues, food, music, art, and health. Since 2012, he has been traveling the world telling the stories of the rapidly emerging freestyle calisthenics culture in the form of a feature documentary, Raise Up, The World is Our Gym. Raise Up was awarded the Best of the Fest at the Hip Hop Film Festival at NYC, and Rain recently secured a worldwide acquisition, the movie with Red Bull Media House. Welcome to the show, Rain Bennett. What's up, brother?
Thank you, man. Good to finally connect.
Yeah, dude, you too. Well, man, I know about calisthenics. I've been following it for a little bit, and so I really enjoyed looking at what you're doing, what you're up to. I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I really want to look into it. But getting acquired, like your bio is great, but getting acquired by Red Bull, that's a pretty massive deal. So obviously, you're doing some incredible work.
Bro, I appreciate that, man. And to be honest, this may have be the first time that we've really announced that. So you might have an exclusive there. It just happened recently. They're taking it. They've licensed it starting in July. But yeah, dude, I mean that's huge because this was as indie as a film gets. Like I legit, I had been a filmmaker for a while, maybe going on 10 years at that point. And this was like my passion project. And so I took my little Canon DSLR and my backpack that's like with me right now and a little light, a little microphone and a little tripod and traveled the world making this film like for nothing. And so, of course, that's always the goal, right? Like you have big dreams and you're telling this story because you know it has relevance in the world and in the community and in the culture. But I'm still kind of shocked by it because they're really going to take this to a global audience, and I don't know, man. I'm super proud, but it's a huge deal. But it's hard for it to really for it to really settle in, because it just happened. I'm like, is this what? It's awesome.
Right, that's amazing, dude. Well, massive congrats on that, and you always gotta love the indie stories, Like I love how you have the same backpack. You're like, this is the one. This is the one that did it.
I won't let it go. My girlfriend tried to like buy me a new one, and I was like, no, babe. You see that dirt right there? That's Uganda. You can't take Uganda from me.
Right, that's amazing. So, do you want to give people like a little bit of a background around like who you are, how you got to where you are today? Because I read a lot about what you're doing, and it's a bigger mission than just you're not just like trying to make a documentary. You got a mission going. So, you want to give us a little background?
Sure, man. I mean, I personally am a country boy from a small town in eastern North Carolina. I grew up on the water, but I had big city dreams, right? That's why I'm up in New York City. I'm traveling the world, but all my family's back in North Carolina, and I have still that's where my home is, and I love it there. But I was also always an athlete. All sports. Soccer was my main sport, but I played everything. I loved everything. I was always competitive as a kid. And somewhere along the line, actually later in life, because coming from a small town, you didn't have a lot of options. We didn't have lacrosse. We didn't have, more obscure sports. They almost barely didn't have a soccer team. So later in life, I picked up boxing and really fell in love with it and started teaching it really quickly. I was like an assistant coach on the UNC team, the University of North Carolina, and I started training people and had a little side job at a gym just as a hobby. I wasn't making a lot teaching classes. I just loved it so much. And during that time, this is around 2006 or 7, YouTube had just come out, and I saw these videos. Like most of the people who got introduced to this culture, the calisthenics culture, I saw videos of guys in New York, in the parks of New York, doing unbelievable, like extreme movements on scaffolding and streetlights and park benches and playgrounds, in New York and Harlem and Brooklyn. And the movement patterns were like boxing to me, and I fell in love with it because it would go from explosive and dynamic to really smooth and controlled in an instant, and the rhythmic nature of it. It looked like dancing on a bar. It looked like boxing. It looked like an art form. And I was like, what is this? I fell in love. So I dove in, went down the rabbit hole on YouTube, started working out and put down the weights and started doing calisthenics then immediately. And that's what introduced me to that whole world. Now, I ended up working with one of the teams from Harlem that was a community organization. So they did these tricks on the bars, but only as the visual hook to get kids' attention. And they were teaching in Rikers Island and like boys academies and like schools in the New York City area. And it was having this massive social effect on these kids, like getting them off of streets, out of gangs, off of drugs, just this massive effect on their mentality, on their spirituality, and I worked with one of the teams called the Bartenders, play on words, on a PSA that I did for a university in North Carolina, and I saw that. I was like, whoa, this is like way more than just pull-ups. Like what these guys are is community based. Like this is something, I think there's a story here, And so that's when I was like, oh man, maybe this could be my next project. And so I ended up moving up to New York around 2010, and it's just growing every year exponentially. And I became, I've always been a teacher and a trainer, and I became a part of it and fell in love with it. And then I noticed that people internationally, because of YouTube and it spread so quickly, they started getting organized and having world championships. The Russians took to it really quickly because they're all gymnasts, in their culture, and they called it street workout and street workout. And so they had like the street workout world championship. And I'm like, yo, I got to get over there because I'm just telling a New York story, but this country in Latvia, or this city in Latvia is having this world championship. I got to go see what it's about. And I spent the next year touring the world, looking at different urban and metropolitan communities where calisthenics was shaping the youth culture and the communities. And I taught, when I was traveling, my favorite thing was working with kids and teaching them. We built parks in Uganda at an orphanage, and I made this film, and it was crazy. But all along, like, I just fell so deeply into the community, and it helped me tell the story because I was connected to all these people and I was part of it, So it was like a story for us, by us, and not just like, hey, this is really neat what you guys are doing, I want to make a movie about it. And because there was a lot of other attempts at making a TV show or making a film about this, and all of them fell by the wayside, and mine was the only one, to make it through. And I don't say that to be pretentious. I say that because it was authentic. I mean, I was part of the culture and fell in love with it, and it was truly a labor of love. It lasted over 5 years, just because there was no money, and it was just I had to go make my money and then come back to the project. And hey, now we're here and we got a finished film. It's great.
That's amazing, man. I love that. Okay, so what did you find the biggest difference was between US and like, did they adopt kind of, because I really like how you're training kids and you have the boxing background like me, like for martial arts, it's a way to really teach them life skills, discipline, respecting yourself, respecting your body, having just general health. You can't go and work out super hard and be a martial artist and eat McDonald's
Right.
it's like basic stuff, so did you find that they were culturally doing that, like that the idea around calisthenics was, like in Europe? Geez, crap, I gotta be able to ask a question. They were adopting those same
going.
principles. Yeah. All right. So, yeah,
I'm ready. I know exactly where you're going. Don't worry, brother. It was really beautiful because to touch on the Russians real quick, because there was very much that classic rivalry, and the two most influential cultures in the calisthenics community are American and Russian, or
nice.
or U.S. and Russia, and so it's a classic rivalry. The styles were different because this comes from it's U.S., man. We're like, it's more dynamic, it's more flair, it's more explosive. The Russians came from a gymnastic background. It's inherent in their culture. Their grandfather's grandfather did it, so they had these like very strong static power moves, like holding themselves in planches and one arm handstands. Everyone in like Amsterdam and UK and kind of Western Europe kind of was a combination of both, or you could see who they would emulate. But for the longest time, those were the two styles. Now everything's kind of mixing together a little bit, and it's more of a complete art. But and the movie illustrates this, which by the way I'll send you a link so I can make sure you see that. But the beautiful thing about it is they were still birthed out of the same situations, and the situations were you know, this necessity, this need for health. They were from low economic areas where mostly anyone can do calisthenics. But what I find is there's a lot of fitness disciplines that are very exclusive because they're very expensive. And the beautiful thing about calisthenics is you need nothing but your body and gravity, you know, to get a workout in. That's the whole premise. The whole concept behind the world is our gym. We can utilize, I'm here in a conference room in New York City. I can get busy all over this. I got chairs, I got tables, I got the floor, I got the wall. I can do so much in this room right here. I could lead a boot camp right now. And that's the whole philosophy behind it. But it came out of these neighborhoods where we can't afford a gym. Okay. We're in a food desert. You know, everything is cheap, crappy food, you know. And the Russians, it's the same area. These are not rich areas. This is not, you know, in the, you know, chic, posh areas. This is in places where people like need to take care of their bodies, and most of the places where they don't. And now it's not urban or rural because I come from the country, and it's the same thing there. It's a poverty, it's a socioeconomic thing. And that's the most important thing to me, is that, you know, I grew up watching the people where I come from get diabetes and get heart disease and cancer, and they're not wise to what it takes to get healthy. And so these movements were coming from within the culture of people who had figured it out and were showing youth in the communities how to stay fit, how to eat right, for you know, an affordable rate or no rate, you know what I mean? And so the parallels there were much stronger than the divides, because they might not even recognize it, you know, because they kind of, you know, they had a little rivalry. You know, everybody loves everybody. The whole culture is full of love, but there was stylistically there was a little rivalry, but uh socially and culturally they come from the same roots.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, man, I love that. And I think that's just super important. Just the basic movement practice. You know, you need to get up and you need to move. You need to move around. So I know that you're working on some projects now. Can you speak a little bit about what you're working on now, and, you know, what the kind of intention is behind what you're doing? Because I know it's more than just, you know, hey, let's go to the gym and have calisthenics. It's more like a health and lifestyle movement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a bunch of different projects now in the film space. They all tend to focus on culture. There's one I'm doing now that's a historic archaeological piece in North Carolina, but it's really about the native people of this island on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. In terms of the fitness stuff, there's a web series I'm working on right now that I'm hosting called The Perfect Workout Show. And so this is built around the concept. The motto or the slogan is, the perfect workout is the one you do. So it's like whatever one keeps you coming back. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's
Mm,
basketball, it doesn't matter if it's CrossFit, it doesn't matter if it's calisthenics. What are you going to wake up and feel excited to go do? So many of us look at working out or eating right as an inconvenience. And it's like, oh, you know, I'm on a diet, or I got to exercise. I feel so fat from the weekend or whatever. It's like, bro, what? You should be like, man, I'm ready to get out of here. I got pickup soccer with the dudes. You know, I'm stoked to go do it. Right now, you know, the sun is shining in New York City. When we get off the phone, I'm going to go be on the waterfront looking at the Manhattan skyline and doing pull-ups until my arms are dead, you know. It should be, you know, something that you love. So that show is, we look at the business and culture around fitness, and basically each episode I do a different fitness discipline, and the trainers teach me. And so this is for an audience like where the people that I come from, like my family members. This is for people who don't know where to start. They want to make a change in their lives, but they're too overwhelmed to know where to begin. There's so much information. So I basically go in there and throw myself to the wolves. And I did CrossFit, and I did hot yoga, and I did cycling, and I did pole dance. I did, you know, like all these different fitness disciplines. And so I'm really excited about that. That's a new web series that we're going to do. And right now, I'm working with a startup. This is out of the film space. Where I am today, I'm working with a startup calisthenics league to try to make this into an official sport. You know, fitness is always a part of what I do, or health. But really, when it comes down to it, I'm just about like community and culture. You know.
Amazing. Yeah, I think they breed both. For me, the background of being in martial arts, you have a community, right? So in soccer, baseball, hockey, you have a community, right? You have a camaraderie. You learn about teamwork, and you want to be better so you can support your team, and then you're supportive of them. So if we could just kind of take that idea out into the world, it's a pretty fantastic concept. And I really like the idea of your show. I've seen somebody do it with martial arts. He goes around and does different martial arts, right? And you
Yeah.
practice them. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Really cool show. So I really love what you said is like finding the thing that gets you excited. That's the right workout. It's just getting movement, getting active. There's no right way, just whatever is going to inspire you. Like pole dance. I heard pole dance is actually really, really hard, and it was kind of taken off.
Oh, kick my butt. And I do body weight stuff. My core strength is there. My upper body strength is there, bro. these girls are legit, man.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So for somebody wanting to get into adopting more fitness into their life, what are some ideas? Maybe you can say, here's like 10 ideas, and then these are some of my favorites. This one does this, some info.
Right. So I am definitely a proponent, obviously, of body weight exercises, but there's a legitimate reason behind that, because that's where it all starts. So we kind of got off track for a few decades, and there's reasons that we don't need to go into right now that happened. And we got off track thinking that, you isolate muscles and that's how you train them. And the gym equipment industry really helped push that, and that helped their pockets a little bit. My philosophy is it all starts with moving and maintaining and controlling your body weight. Then you add on external factors like weight, if that makes sense for you. If you're trying to get big, or if you're a bodybuilder or something like that. If you're a football player or a lacrosse star or a ballerina, there's going to be a different regimen that comes after that. But the one thing in common is that they all have to have control over this, the one thing that we truly own, right? And so to that point, start with that. Start with being able to hold your body weight up. If you can't do a push-up right now, go into the plank position. If you can't hold into the plank position, do a tabletop with your hands and knees and engage your core and hold yourself there. If you can't do a pull-up, hang from the bar. If you can't hang from the bar, hang from a horizontal bar, laying out so you're flatter. Anything where you're holding your body weight up. So first, I would start with that. Any kind of core strength, where not just sit-ups, not sit-ups at all, if you want to be clear, but building the core is a whole band around your body. So planks and like the Superman, when you're lying on your stomach and you lift your hand, your arms and legs up when you work on your lower back. Anything where you can work your lower back and your abs, everything starts from the core. So anything where you're strengthening that is going to help everything else. Every movement that you do starts from the core. If I'm about to start running, starts here. If I'm about to jump up for a rebound, starts here, my legs and my core. I love calisthenics, pull-ups and push-ups, but one thing that it gets criticized about sometimes, and this is changing because I think everybody's trying to be versatile, is that it neglects the legs. Again, coming from a martial arts background, I come from boxing, all energy generates from the floor up, right? So your legs and your foundation have to be strong. I really want people to focus on your posterior chain too, not just the quads and everything up front, not just your abs up front, mirror muscles, we call these, but working on things like, I love kettlebell swings and deadlifts, anything where you're working on the back side of your legs, because that's what's holding you up straight, right? Every day we're in these offices and we're slumped over like this and we get bad posture. I have lower back problems because of it. So through physical therapy and things like this, these are all things that I've learned along the way. I'm not a specialist. I just love to learn. And that's the concept of the Perfect Workout Show too, is I'm learning for my audience. I just love to absorb all this stuff from people who are experts. But to me, when people want to start, I say get rid of the antiquated thought of I got to go work out on an elliptical for 45 minutes and then go lift weights for 45 minutes. I can give you 20 minutes in what's, high intensity interval training that'll get your heart rate up and down and get you burning fat, having that cardiovascular work while building your muscle. If you can do anything like combat sports or mixed martial arts or boxing or anything like that, you're using all of that and you're building lean muscle, mobility, as well as flexibility. I think mobility is highly neglected and something that's super important. And that basically, for those listening, is being able to have strength at the end of your range of motion. So not just flexibility, but being able to have strength in that position. So I know I'm kind of running all over the place there, but to start, for someone who just wants to start, just start moving. Find something that you love, because any movement is better than sitting around waiting, trying to decide what to do. You don't have to go run 5 to 10 miles. Go pick up a basketball. You know what I mean? Go do whatever relaxes you and that you can put some honest work into, and that's going to keep you coming back. But if you want to know what I think works physically, start in the home, start with mountain climbers, start with push-ups, start with planks, start with squats, body weight squats. You know what I mean? Just start with your body, start moving your body as soon as possible.
Love that, man. Really great answer. When you were talking about the core, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they're giving me an analogy about strength and how core was the ultimate thing, right? And they're like, basically, imagine two oranges, and it's this like thing in the middle, this kind of just string or band that's gonna hold these two things that twist together. So the more that this core part of you is like the most ultimate thing. So so I have a couple questions, but because I know you're an expert in this, what are your top, let's say 2 to 3 home core exercises that you would recommend people do?
I'll give you. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I'll give you 4.
Yeah, sure. 4. Number's fine. I'll give you 20 if you want.
I'll give you 37.
Yeah. Oh God.
All right. So first, the plank is so good, man. The elbows and toes. The low plank. You can do the high plank too, which is just push up position. A few cues that I want people to focus on. Keep your hips up, not sagging, and your core engaged, and your shoulders pushed away and rounded, right? If you're holding in this plank, round those shoulders. If you're holding like this, same thing. Okay, and keep your core engaged and your hips up, so flat back if you can. A lot of people get real soft and lag there in the middle, and just hold. Also squeezing your legs, squeezing your butt. That everything has to be working together. Your body is one unit. It's a team of muscles working together, not one muscle. So don't just squeeze your abs. Your legs are carrying a lot of weight there. So the plank is so good. And some people can't do that for 15, 20 seconds. That's fine. Do it 15, 20 seconds. Breathe, relax for a couple minutes. Come back, do it again. Do it again. Build up 5 seconds each day. You'll get there. Don't worry about it. Everything, and I'm tangenting here briefly, everything is about consistency. Progression is not about going crazy one day. It's about doing 10 every day, not 100 one day. Okay? So do that plank. That is excellent. 2, when you're in the plank, drop down flat on your belly and do what's called Superman's, where you're laid out and you lift your arms and shoulders up off the floor and your legs and your quads as well. So if you're flat like this and these are your hands and these are your feet, you're lifting up and keeping your abdomen on the floor. Now, these are your quads. I want you to squeeze your quads when you do that. So you can either hold in this position like a plank, or you can do reps and just go up and down. Coming from there, and this can be 1 or 2 exercises. Flip over. Now you're on your butt. That's your butt. So the hardest thing people have, or the biggest thing that people have trouble doing that I find, is when you're lying down, like this is your back and these are your legs. These are your feet up here. You can have your back flat on the floor here, but when you start to drop your legs, that lower back comes up off the ground. It's called anterior pelvic tilt. It's that little arch in your back. If you're a yogi, it's cow rather. It's cow, where you arch like this and not like that. What you want to work on is being able to lower your legs down and keeping your back flat against the ground. It's incredibly hard to do for a lot of people without your lower back coming off the ground. And the way to do that is you have to super duper engage your core, pretend like you're driving your belly button down through your spine. And just being able to hold in that position with your legs slightly up off the floor is called basically, if your hands were up, it would be a hollow body hold. That is like the reverse of a plank. So good. Most people that I train have a hard time doing that for 30 seconds. You know what I mean? If you're comfortable with that, you can do what's called V-ups. which is a excellent explosive exercise where this is your hands, these are your feet. You just come up and try to get them to meet, bridging right there and like on your tailbone. So those are a few, and if you notice, most of them were holds, were isometric holds. You can do reps with them, but a lot of them is just about holding yourself in a position, in a good position, and keeping everything locked down and squeezing your core, So it's not this old thing of like, I'm just going to do little crunches. I don't subscribe to that at all. And if you're able to hold yourself on the bar, any kind of knee raise or leg raise, if you can do toes to bar, strict toes to bar, hey, you're a champion. Those are excellent. But even just lifting your knees up, if you're hanging, you're working everything there too. So that's like maybe 4 or 5. Those are all sick core exercises.
Awesome, man. That's a great list. So, okay. So what, no, it's important, man. What I really like, you're kind of changing the way people think about working out. So one of the people that I came across that changed the way that I thought about it was Pavel Tsatsouline. Are you aware of who he is?
Bro, yes. All day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I never worked out ever with a bar, with a deadlift or squats, because if I did, I couldn't skateboard. And then he has this one workout. It's 3 sets of 3 deadlift every second day. And then 3 sets of 5 bench. That's the whole workout. And you can go home. And it didn't affect my skateboarding. And what happened was I went from deadlift. I never deadlifted in my life. And I was at like 225, 235, got to 415 or 415 in just over 3.5 months. I'm like, holy crap. And so you touched on consistency over blowing yourself out, right? Doing it a little bit each day rather than one crazy workout on Friday when you're done and then you can't move for 3 days. It's adding these little elements in. And now the way that I kind of say it with the Pavel thing, the way I thought about it was, imagine we never did a squat, or we never bent over at the waist as a human. And then all of a sudden, one of the cavemen starts to bend over at the waist. It's going to be challenging at first, but when you do it all the time, it's a lever and it's easy. So we need to, one of the hacks that I love is having a pull-up bar in the house. Like you said, the bars, you don't need to do anything. So when you go through the doorway, you rip off. If you can only do one pull-up, do one pull-up. If you need to get the band, get the band. But throughout the day, you might do 20 pull-ups, but over a week, it's going to be a lot more, 140. And then over the month, you're doing, over 400, and the body adapts to that. Now it's adapting to those movements. So that being said, you want to add something?
Yeah, well, I have an interesting little story that plays so well off what you just said, if you don't mind.
Of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So taking it back to the Perfect Workout Show, one of the episodes that we did was at this place in New York called Mark Fisher Fitness. And their slogan is ridiculous humans, serious fitness. And it's like super, like there's rainbows and unicorns painted all over the place. It is like literally whoever you are as a person, you're welcome. One of the trainers had on like a bikini bottom and a Batman costume, like face mask. They're insane. Now, the guy who trained me, his name is Brian Patrick Murphy, and he was wearing like teeny tiny. They put me in pink booty shorts and a tight tank top, and it was ridiculous. It's going to be the either that or the pole dance episode are going to be the 2 funniest episodes because I look ridiculous. And so the guy who was teaching, his name is Brian Patrick Murphy, and he was on Broadway for a while, and he also had pink booty shorts on. And and so you see them, and they all do look ridiculous. He learned kettlebell training 20 years ago from Pavel himself, and right when no one knew about this, and Brian Patrick Murphy had a bunch in his trunk and drove around the country teaching the kettlebell methods that he learned from Pavel, and that's who I learned it from last year, and who got me completely into this, because I was just on calisthenics. And that's what got me really, really putting kettlebells into my routine. And it's just a funny little coincidence, because this dude that you would never think that he would have learned this, but as soon as he's opened his mouth and started talking about form and the biomechanics behind it, it was just so obvious that he knew his shit. You know what I mean? And then he's like, yeah, by the way, I learned from Pavel, and nobody else in the class knew who that was. I'm like, what? So just insane.
Amazing, man. Yeah, Pavel's the man. It's so interesting for me. It's like results you get, you know? So if I'm 170 pounds deadlifting 463, like that's a lot. And I'm still skateboarding. Skateboarders are not strong, you know, they're usually skinny, you know, they're fit, but they're not heavy lifters. So it just shows how effective certain workouts can be. So for you, that's okay, man. For you, and everything that you've learned, like what would you share with people, like how to get them involved in fitness, how to adapt certain workouts? Like, you know, we talked about HIIT, we talked about kettlebell pull-ups, we talked about just doing something, right? Because a lot of the time you look out and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go do fitness, and you look out and you're like, oh shit, is it, you know, jazzercise, you know, kettlebell swings, deadlifts, you know, running, like, and then they get overwhelmed. So for you, how would you motivate people to just rethink it, get out there, get into it, and then start adapting it? Because it's a lifestyle. It's not you work out and then you stop. You adapt it into your life.
Right. Well, that's kind of the concept of the Perfect Workout Show, is like to make it easier for people to to make that, you know, initial action, or take that initial action into doing this, because people are overwhelmed. There is so many options. So when the show is released, I think that would be definitely a good way for for them to get motivated, and also uh, see what it's like. I had so many people. We did release the first episode as a teaser last year, and it was CrossFit, and it was the best compliment we got, which was exactly our goal. Was people said, "Oh, this makes it so much more understandable and digestible for me. Like I didn't know what it was, and I was hearing all these rumors, but like I get it now." And that's what we were trying to do. But to not shamelessly plug a project of mine and answer that question, um, it's tough because you're going to have to do a little soul searching, right? Like you got to know what you got to do, the work, you got to do the time, like you got to find it, and nobody can do it for you. And unfortunately, no matter what pattern someone is trying to break, I can't break it for them, you can't break it for them, they have to break it for themselves. And so it's got to be a matter of finding their why, which is a typical expression you hear now that I actually love. Like, what is your purpose? Is it because you have a child now? I know a lot of people that had kids and they're like, I don't want to be like incapable when my kid is growing up. I want to be able to play with them. So that's a big motivating factor. So you got to find that motivating factor. For my mother, it was when she got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and it sucks that they had to hit that far of a bottom. But hey, sometimes that's what it takes. And I don't mean to be negative about it. I just know that the initiation has to come from within. However, there are so many wonderful, fun things to do. There's a boot camp outdoors, whatever city that you're in these days. You know what I mean? It's really competitive. So all these studios are going to have great entry deals. They're going to let you get five classes for $20 or something like that. But you have to go out there and try it. Now, if you don't have time, then start at the house. You know what I mean? Just start doing anything. Give yourselves 20 minutes and work as hard as you can. But at the end of the day, it's all on you. You just got to find your motivation and why you want to do it. And then that'll make you take action. If you're just like, I need to lose weight, that's not going to do it. You really got to have something, a reason to. But one of the things that we found from our research is that people want something fun these days. And I think that's a big part of it too. You got to have something where you can socialize and have fun, and it makes you want to go back. And I think there's a ton of options now, ton of options.
Awesome, brother. Really good. No nonsense answer. No, just like go do this. It's true. You got to motivate yourself, and there's infinite options. And I think what you're piecing at is, yeah, find why you want to do it, but you don't have to go outside. And if you want to go outside, you can find a community, whether it's pickup soccer, calisthenics, CrossFit, whatever. Just find the one that resonates with you, and then you have the community, which is another whole piece, right? And then that kind of spawns out. So it's adopting it into the lifestyle.
One thing I will say is the time that we live in, hey, nobody should be ignorant anymore. Like, what I would suggest, go on Facebook, join a Facebook group. So many people are willing to help you that have been through similar stories. Go find a workout. Hey, you're interested in CrossFit? Find a CrossFit Facebook group and say, hey guys, I'm new, never done CrossFit. What should I expect? is this good for me or not? And talk to people. Now, granted, in that Facebook group, they're all going to tell you should do it, but people genuinely want to help you these days, and they can. You have the resources. You don't even have to leave your couch to figure out, what's good. You can also find events going on in your community easily through social media these days. Put it out there. You got to. The biggest thing is you got to stop being so insecure and worrying about what people think. Put it out there. Hey guys, not happy. I want to lose about 20 pounds. Anybody have any suggestions? Guarantee you'll have one or two people that make a joke on your Facebook thing, and then you'll have a bunch of, but those are just friends being friends, and then you have a bunch of people giving you real tangible options and alternatives.
Awesome, man. Yes, fantastic advice. Okay, so I know you're a busy man. You got lots of stuff going on over there, and people are walking in, and you got another meeting. So,
yeah,
what do you want to leave? They're itching. Yeah, they need your attention. What do you want to leave the listeners with? Maybe some closing thoughts, and then where to find more about you and your show. And the plug is great because it's exactly it's really needed. Like in martial arts, it's like mixed martial arts. Like, do you want boxing is not better than jiu-jitsu, which is not better than kung fu. They're all just different. So whichever one you want to do, whichever one makes you more stoked to wake up and get out there and do it, that's the one you do, and that's what you're doing for fitness. So I think it's a great service.
Man. I would say first and foremost, the next thing the audience should do is go watch Raise Up the World Is Our Gym. It's on iTunes. It's on Amazon. You can go to raiseupthemovie.com and find out other places you can watch it. We even got DVDs because people still want those. And in terms of themselves, it's all about taking control over your body. I can't stress that enough. Your body and your health, it's the same thing as your mind. It's all one thing, right? And it's the only thing that we have. Anything else that I have here, can go away by some outside variable tomorrow. And to be honest, like, so could this, you know what I mean? To me, it's all about taking control over that, taking control over this, taking control over this, and taking control over the whole body, So get out there, get moving, learn how to control your body weight, and things will happen. The rest of the stuff, I've seen so many stories of kids starting to do this and working out, whatever it is, and it changes their lives. They become more sociable. They get more confidence. They get better grades. This is not like something I'm making up. I've seen it. I've documented it. It's a beautiful thing. The effects that this has on this are real. Go find out for yourself.
Awesome, brother. I totally agree. Martial arts is the whole thing of master, mind, body, spirit. And they always say the body first, you break it down, the mind kicks in, and then the spirit, and that's kind of, how we can start. So thank you for your work. Thank you for everything that you're doing and putting out there. I really look forward to catching the documentary and looking at the show, and especially the pole dancing episode and all the fun stuff you get into, man. So let's stay in touch, and just thanks for coming on and sharing your work.
Absolutely, my friend. It was great talking to you. I can't wait to talk to you again.
We'll do it, man. Okay. See you guys.
See you, brother.